If you have never experienced a near suicidal depressive breakdown, I can tell you what it's like. I had one 5 years ago. Now hopefully this isn't you, but looking back, I know it was the best thing that could have happened to me. Because up till then, I was just like every other clueless entrepreneur, maniacally focused on success, but ignoring all the signs. Moving non-stop from one guru get-rich scheme to another, yet still completely in the dark about what I was supposed to do with my life. But as they say, that was then, this is now, and if you can hear my voice, then you and I both know we are ready to get serious about living the life we love, not just existing in it. But how do we do it? Join me as I work with hundreds of entrepreneurs just like you to learn their insider secrets, what's working now, and more importantly, what hasn't. All to help you, the struggling entrepreneur, decode what's keeping you stuck, enabling you to live better, accomplish more, and truly become the person you want to be. Hi, my name is Brian Forsyth, and welcome to Radically Unstuck. All right. Hey, welcome to Radically Unstuck. My name is Brian Forsyth. I want to welcome you. This is the show where we try to help you figure out what is keeping you stuck, what is keeping you in your chair, what is keeping you from living your heart-centered business dreams. That is the purpose of this podcast. This is a movement, the moment you decide to move towards the life that you would gladly fight for. And with that, I want to tell you we have a fantastic guest. She's bringing the fire, y'all. I'm telling you. Nadine, give us a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Well, I am known as the Naked Life Coach. I am a motivational speaker and author. I've published 7 books so far, and I help people launch the life they love, which is different for everybody. So I teach a multitude of skills, but the foundation of everything that I teach is law of attraction, which is the idea that we each create our own reality, and we're all doing that all the time. It's whether or not we're doing it consciously and only creating the reality that we desire to experience. So that's what I help people do.
I know a lot of people, really have some experience with what exactly the law of attraction is based on the book, The Secret, and all of that. It got to be very popular. But I want to talk about, who Nadine was way back when. Like when you were 16, 17 years old, what was going on, and did you always sort of feel like you were headed this direction, or how did that happen?
Well, I became fascinated with sci-fi and fantasy. I'm a huge reader. I wanted to be a fantasy author back in the day.
So did you ever write anything? Did you ever put pen to paper and see what that was like?
I actually had started writing, I think when I was 15, started writing a fantasy trilogy with my best friend at the time, and we got about 5 chapters in. We had the whole 3-book outline, and then we got about 5 chapters in, and she lost the notebooks.
Are you still friends with her, or did she have to go by the wayside? What happened?
No, we were still friends after that. Now, of course, I'm out of touch with her now. I actually just recently found her on Facebook, but yeah, we were out of touch for a really long time. But yeah, that kind of, I don't know, I guess I got discouraged by that, and we didn't really try to recreate it, because I don't know about you, but when I write stuff down, I tend to put it out of my mind sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
So I had all that outline, and then I couldn't remember everything,
Yeah.
So I kind of got off track with the writing idea, and 16, 17, I don't know what I wanted to be. I didn't have any real specific goals at that time.
So what was the story about?
Oh man, it was a journey of the chosen one, of course, through 3 books, and the only bits I remember, there was a dragon's eye involved at some point. That was a magical object, and he was gonna have a Black Panther companion somewhere in book 2.
Already had the panther worked in there, did you?
Right, we had the whole outline for all 3 books.
So you were gonna do the writing, and then So when did you realize that the writing wasn't going to work and that maybe needed to go a different direction?
Well, that happened when I was about 15. So I didn't really have a direction until, okay, well, starting out, my first, uh, I wanted to be an entrepreneur pretty much from the get-go. I mean, I had some jobs when I turned 18, but I always wanted to be an entrepreneur. So this is actually my ninth business to date, but this one is my passion child. Like all the other businesses were things I started because I thought, well, this is a way I could make money. I could. My first business, I started cleaning houses. So that didn't last super long. I realized I hated doing it.
So how did that impact you, seeing the houses and the conditions, and particularly like how they interacted with you or didn't?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, that was so long ago, but I didn't have a bad experience or anything like that. I just realized that I really disliked cleaning in general.
So I asked that question because my wife, she was a nanny for a bit,
Hmm.
and she'd come home and she'd always tell me about how like they were just like completely not what you would expect. They had this kind of pristine life that they show the world, and they come home and they've got dishes, to the ceiling.
I'd say the one kind of bad experience I didn't like was this lady hired me to come in and do her laundry once a week, and it was like a lot of loads of laundry, so it was
Oh,
pretty much an
wow.
all-day job.
Yeah.
Um, and but she expected me to be the kid's babysitter on that day, and I was like,
Mm.
I'm not gonna like you're not paying me enough to babysit your kids and do the laundry. Like
Yep.
I'll be there at the house, but I'm not gonna be responsible for your kids.
Yeah, it's really surprising how little somebody will pay a babysitter.
Yeah, absolutely.
So there you are. You've did the cleaning, and then you did the computers, and so what was the moment that you decided that the computers weren't for you? Did the business just close down, or what happened?
Well, that particular business, I actually moved out of the area. Um, and so when I moved, I decided, I wasn't worth trying to start up in a whole new area. I got into entertainment, so I did that actually for 13 years and traveled around the country and performed in multiple venues, and that was a lot of fun. Um,
What kind of entertainment?
well, I was an adult entertainer.
So how was that? Tell us some stories.
It's funny because I looked at it as a great experience, and not all the entertainers feel that way, obviously, about their work, but I loved it personally. I I love people, first off. I've always been interested in finding out about other people's lives and what they do. So it gave me the chance to interact at a deeper level than you can with, like, if you were working retail or something where you're seeing somebody for like 5 minutes.
Yep.
Uh, and it was a lot of freedom. I could set my own schedule, and I'm all about freedom. That's like a key word for me, freedom. So it allowed me to set my own schedule. I could go pretty much anywhere in the country and work at the drop of a hat or other item of clothing. And
Yeah.
I could choose who I wanted to talk to. That's another aspect that people don't realize. In most service industries, you kind of just have to deal with whoever walks through the door. But in my line of work, if somebody was being less than ideal customer, I could just get up and walk away. Or if they're being really bad, report them to the bouncers and have them ejected. But I usually never got to that point with anybody. If I just didn't like their vibe, I could just walk away. And a lot of
Yeah.
people don't realize, how much freedom that gives you. So, and I love music, I love dancing. I discovered the performance rush, that you get when you put on a good show and everybody claps and or
Yeah.
throws $100 bills at you, which is nice. And
Yeah.
so I really enjoyed it. I'd have to say, for I don't know about the landscape now in that business, but I would have definitely recommended it to anybody as an alternative to working some kind of job where you're making crap money and have to deal with crap all day from bosses and customers. I mean, dancing to me was freedom.
So I'm curious, did you have a stage persona? Did you have a stage name?
I did it sometimes, but a lot of times I just used my real name because I was never afraid of using my real name or being known. Uh, I sometimes use Lily, which is one of my favorite names, or Rose. But most of the time I use my real name, Nadine.
So the reason why I asked that question is because like I said, I have a ton of experience. I was quote unquote a manager
Hmm.
at one time, and so so you don't, because in my experience there are a couple of different types of dancers.
Hmm.
I actually was planning on writing a book on this side of life at one time. I've kind of pushed that to the side with like being married and all these different things, but uh so it seemed like there were sort of three classes of dancers. There was what I call the hustlers,
Hmm.
which they were the ones that were completely about the money. They weren't interested in the the fun side of the business. Like you didn't see them like sitting around drinking alcohol with the guests or whatever. Like they were just like dance, 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 money, 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 I'm gone.
Hmm.
And then there was the ones that they were sort of the party girls,
Hmm.
and they would get up on stage and they would do it for the money, but they also did it as like a they lived their life like through the clubs and through all the different life. And then the other ones were the ones that they were there because they absolutely had to. Their boyfriend was not there. They had a child they had to support. They had a serious drug habit. Like there was, and that was sort of the three. And it seemed like the hustlers, like they like that, it never impacted them. Like
Hmm.
the life never impacted them. It was
Hmm.
more the other two classes that, like, when they walked in the club, they became this other persona so that they could deal with the realities either in the club or outside of the club.
Hmm. I don't know if I really fit in any of those categories. I mean, I was a hustler in the sense that I didn't feel like dancing was a bad thing. Like the third type that you talk about seemed like they'd be the ones that are like super impacted. And I saw that a lot with girls who would like be really down on themselves for this life or this kind of work, and I had no shame about it. Like I thought it was freeing, and I had all the control in the situation aside from owning the club, but I could choose to work there or not, and I could
Yeah.
go somewhere else and work somewhere else if I didn't like the club's rules or whatever.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. You sound like you were a hybrid.
yeah.
Because you were a hustler, but at the same time, I get the feeling that you were having fun.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I'm a big proponent of if it's not fun, don't do it. Like life is too short to live your life doing something that you hate.
Yeah, and that's one of the things, one of the main tenets of this show, which is, are you doing something that you would like? Are you living a life that you would truly fight for? Or are
Hmm.
you settling for this life less lived, either because you're too scared to face reality or change some things, or learn, or whatever the question is. Are you ready to live a life? Because
Right?
I don't want you just existing.
Yeah.
Life is not about existing. Flowers exist. I mean, they may be having fun. I don't know, but you know, the flower exists, the dog exists, but we were put here to have enjoyment.
Yeah.
And so
Absolutely.
I encourage my listeners to
live a life that they gladly enjoy. And so, talking about, so you were an adult entertainer, and clearly a pretty good one, because you did it for 13 years. So, but at some point you were like, okay, this gig is, it's not for me anymore. What happened there?
Well, it was more the economy change when 9/11 happened. The economy took a dive, and it was never as much fun after that. Now I still did it for a few more years, but it just, I don't know, it shifted. The American psyche shifted, and people were afraid and not spending money, and so I just started, and I'd also, like, throughout that time, I wasn't doing, that was like my main bread and butter, but I was trying other things. I did financial services for about 4 years through Primerica Financial Services. For a couple of years, I got involved in the retail distribution of electronic cigarettes when those first came to the States.
I was so hoping you were going to tell us you were a drug dealer. I was like, yes.
Close.
No, just electronic cigarettes. All right.
Well, when I was a teenager, actually, one of my fantasies was becoming a drug dealer, but I never got the $50 that I needed to start that career.
Hey, I have some stories about when I was a pharmaceutical distributor.
Oh, so you were a drug dealer.
Oh man, you have no idea. I'm gonna tell you, I have a book one day. I'm gonna write it. So, like, what happened to put you on your current path? What was going on?
Well, actually, the crash of 2008 took me out. I mean, I lost everything. Me and my boyfriend broke up. The guy that I loved the most powerfully in my life up to that point, we broke up in 2009. I lost my house. I lost my car.
Oh man.
Both my businesses went down the drain. I mean, it was like a bad country song. Sorry if you like that kind of music, but seriously, I was down and out. I had basically, I went from like making a comfortable $3,000 or $4,000 a month to $1,500 in 1 month, and then the next month barely scratching $1,000. It was just, I'd say that was probably the worst part of my life. I almost became homeless. I fortunately had somebody that stepped in and rescued me and helped me get back on my feet.
Awesome.
And during this time, like in 2007, it's funny that you mentioned it, but in 2007, I saw The Secret, which was a great documentary about the law of attraction. And it inspired me. At that point, I've been interested by these things, but I hadn't really been focusing on them that much. It was more like I read a book and I learned something new, and little things would happen in my life, but I wasn't focused on it. And so in 2007, when I saw The Secret, I had started consciously trying to apply that more fully in my life. And it was something that one of the guys on it said. If you remember, you mentioned the book. I don't know if you saw the documentary, but there was a British guy on there, and he goes, "Oh, I use it all the time to line up good car parks," talking about getting a good parking spot. And I was like, wow. I do that too. And I was like, why haven't I've always been doing that. Like, why haven't I applied this in more areas of my life? So I started trying to do that. And when the crash happened in 2008, is when, like, I was like, okay, something's got to change, and I need to figure this stuff out. And so I really, like, put my full attention and energy on trying to decode this law of attraction and make it work for me, because I needed it. It was like
gotta do something.
I was gonna die. Right. or be homeless, which to me was the equivalent of dying,
Sure.
And so I manifested that person coming in and helping me get back on my feet, I believe. And then I knew I wanted to teach other people what I had learned. I didn't know what to call myself. I just knew I wanted to teach manifestation. And I actually found an inn at a local place called the Temple, the Phoenix Goddess Temple, and they had a lot of different holistic practitioners of all sorts. And I got a job there, not really a job, but like a position teaching what I wanted to teach. And I didn't know what to call myself. So I'm like 2 months in, I'm offering these classes and stuff, but I didn't know what to call myself, like teacher of law of attraction or teacher. I didn't even know the word law of attraction back then. It was teacher of manifestation. Just
Huh.
sounds kind of clunky, you know?
It does. It doesn't really roll off the tongue very well.
Right. So one day I'm hanging out with my friend in the hot tub, and I'm trying to kind of brainstorm this. And I'm like, I need to figure out what to call myself. And he goes, well, what do you like doing? And I was being kind of facetious. So I looked down at myself. I'm like, well, I like being naked.
Clearly, because,
And he goes, wait, he goes, well, what else? And I said, well, I like helping people figure out how to get what they want in life. And he goes, you could be a life coach. And I'm like, I could be a naked life coach. And it just all clicked in my head at that moment. Like I saw the benefits that nudity could bring to help people kind of break out of their shell and learn how to be more comfortable in their own skin. And I saw my book cover, and my inner voice said, okay, now you gotta write a book and call it Living the Naked Life. So I did, and it just all clicked in that moment. And it was just absolutely the culmination of all of these things I've been fascinated with since I was a kid. Metaphysics and magic and technology and sociology and psychology, and how do we reach our full potential. That's definitely one of my passions. So yeah, that's how it happened.
Hey,
In the hot tub. Everything important that happens in the hot tub.
So a hot tub, a fifth of Jack Daniels, a rail of Coke, and bam.
No alcohol or drugs. I'm actually the sober partier here.
Hey, that's awesome. I am too these days. I have a past, and it's firmly buried in a closet under a house. So, so speaking of being buried in the house and all those types of things, where can we find the Naked Life Coach if we want to find out more information?
Well, thenakedlifecoach.com is my main website. You can also search for me on Amazon. My books are on Amazon. And I also have the mindbodywizard.com, not the on that one. It's the on the Naked Life Coach, and just mindbodywizard.com on the other one.
Hey, just to make sure y'all are hearing that right, it's Mindbody WIZARD, not lizard, wizard.
Just think magic. The magic happens. I help you unleash the magic within.
All right. So this has been really awesome. I really appreciate you coming on and sharing your story and really bringing the validation of the law of attraction, which some people, I really appreciate you bringing that specifically, because a lot of people tend to think of the law of attraction as you sit in your room and you say a bunch of positive stuff, and then stuff just magically happens without like any effort. You don't like go study, you don't do all this stuff. So listener, you definitely, the law of attraction is real. I feel.
And it does take work, but a lot of the work is internal. I mean, it's all about getting in alignment with what you truly want. And
yes, truly want. That's the big thing. And that's really what I want to bring home, is deciding what you truly want and really moving towards that with consistency, with effort, and radical focus,
Mm-hmm.
right? Radical focus. That doesn't mean that you're essentially trying to stare down a train. That means that you are able to decide outside of whatever is stopping you that you are going to succeed,
Mm-hmm.
that you are intelligently going to succeed. And I think the
Decision.
intelligently succeeding is the part that a lot of people they miss. They
I think
they see all
decision.
these, huh?
I think decision, because when you make a decision, that sets the wheels in motion for everything else to happen. A lot of people, I think, are just stuck in limbo because they're afraid to decide for whatever reason, whether it's their family, societal expectations, or, their own fears. Uh, it's making that decision I've observed in my own life has been the root of all my successes.
Yes, the decision, the to make, because the thing is, and I speak from experience, indecision will kill a life.
Mm-hmm.
There's a quote that a bad plan enacted now is better than a perfect plan tomorrow, because there is no such thing as a perfect plan.
True.
So I'm not saying that it's easy. I'm not saying I have all the answers. I'm saying that, listener, take action, move forwards towards a clearly stated, specific point in your future, envisioning it as you move toward it.
Mm-hmm.
And with that, I really appreciate Nadine being on. I really appreciate you, the listener, being on with us. I know that this has helped you. I hope that you take this information and you actually put it to use. And with that, I'm only going to say one more thing, and that's be kind to yourself. Practice radical self-kindness. If you're ever in doubt whether a thought or a feeling is worth paying attention to, worrying over, ask yourself whether or not you would want your best friend to feel it. And if not, then feel free to let it go. All right. And with that, I just want to thank you again for listening to this podcast. I hope that it's been awesome for you. I know I've had fun. And real quick, I just want to ask you to help me out for a second. Go ahead and hit this link, https://ratethispodcast.com/unstuck. And by doing that, you're going to do two things. One, you're going to be entered into our $50 giveaway that we do every month to all of our listeners. And two, you're going to be able to help me make sure that what I'm doing is serving you. I'm putting out content that you appreciate, that's really, touching you and helping you move forward in your life. So go ahead and hit that link, get subscribed for that $50 gift card that we give away monthly, and I will talk to you next week. All right. Thanks again, Nadine. Peace, y'all.
Thank you. Thank you.